Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mohr Memories Creative Workshop. And I know I have been absent for a while. I've been navigating some health issues the past couple of months, and as you can probably hear, I now have a sinus infection on top of it all. So um, I've just been having to take a break from things a lot and just kind of focus on me and just kind of getting back to some of the other projects that I had just kind of incomplete, and one of them being my yearly album, which actually I fit 3 years into one album. So that's what we're gonna flip through today, and just kind of look at some of the things I did that might inspire you or give you some ideas to help you with yours. So as you can see, I did a custom-made spine with Creative Memories. So they are going to be coming back soon. It's now July 2026, so they should be coming back relatively soon, around August or September, I think, is when they were hoping to get these back online and going for folks because of the new website migration. So I did these during the last promo so that I had them ready and not have to wait in case there were other delays. So you can see this is my third volume, and I've got the years 2022, 23, and 24 in here. I know a lot of people, and it is a kind of a bigger one, but I know a lot of people kind of tend to do one album per year, or some people, have a lot going on and a lot to get down in a album. So some people end up with like 2 or 3 albums per year, but I condense it down into 3. I don't have a whole ton of space to store all the albums, so I condense more with the annual ones, and then other ones become kind of their own album. But we'll flip through and we'll just kind of look at some of the extra things I did. So one thing that I carried through, if you had watched my Caribbean cruise series where I was using Spargo pages, and I was really working on kind of marrying older technique of not wallpapering the standard page, because I use the standard pages, but trying to keep some of that page coming through as part of the layout, and then journaling right on the page. So I pulled that over into this album as well, and I really like how that turned out. I just feel like it gave a really nice balance to everything, as well as a cohesion. I also primarily used the Noteworthy Days collection, which was the year-round collection, I think, for 2024, I believe. So I had that sitting around, not touched yet, and I thought, you know what, I need to start digging in and bashing my stash. So I picked Noteworthy Days, and a little help from a few other collections along the way, but primarily Noteworthy Days. And then using a lot of sketches or other advisor kind of workshops, kind of finding those layouts that would really work for this type of technique of not doing the whole, not wallpapering the whole page, just adding certain elements of that sketch layout and keeping that white page coming through, and then I can journal right on there. Again, so you can see some pages get a little bit, I guess a little bit, what's the word? Full. And that's okay. So again, in this particular layout, right, we went to Alaska. I have Alaska already in its own album, but since this was part of 2023, I just thought it needs a little nod, and then of course I have a little note to see the Alaska album. But it was really a really great trip, and I just didn't think like excluding it would really, do any justice to flipping through the year. So in this particular layout, right, I had these extra photos actually that didn't get used, and so that was a nice way of using up some more photos. And then from one of the sketch challenges in another advisor challenge, I made the borders and those just worked perfectly, and then I just kind of matched up a matte color for the photos and just paired them with the border, and I didn't really need anything else. I didn't need any other background paper. I didn't really need anything more, and the effect is still, pretty, I don't know what the word is. I'm losing my words right now, but I think the effect is really nice. Pairing the glaciers and the trees, and I have some journal space here, so sometimes just using a border can really just be all you need on a page to make it work. These pages, so fun fact, I'm a bit of an Anglophile, so I really like British history and England and some of their mythology and whatnot. So part of 2023, the world, just some of the world events that happen, I like to include those at times into my books. So in that September of 23, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II passed away. So I just kind of made a quick page just about, her reign, her life, a little bit. And I paired it with that following month. I had to help my 13-year-old Boston Terrier, Tori, pass over that rainbow bridge. So I just thought putting these two pages together in a bit of a kind of a memory way would work fairly well. And so I'd have a couple of these pages where the theme kind of goes together in a way, but I use different papers instead of having a cohesive two-page layout. But I found elements to pull in to kind of keep them connected. So one of them, I use the bronze shimmer and the infinity chain BMC here as kind of that unifying element. I use bronze shimmer in the mats here to kind of just help pull it together a bit, because they are, right, we have blue and red, and then we have the pink and the plum here. So sometimes I will do that to try to, and I use, of course, the same border on the side. Again, on this one, it seems like it got wallpapered, but it didn't. So we can see the main elements here, but this was originally just white, the white page, and I thought, why not add some inking to kind of, tie into the polka dot and the mittens and flurries BMC, kind of add like that snow effect. So in a way, it looks like I covered the whole page, but I did not. Again, I used inking with the holiday favorite stencil, and then I had a main journal piece, a big, I used the jumbo circle to have kind of a bigger statement piece here, and just some of the photos just highlighting that I know it might look a little uneventful of a Christmas, and just a quick backstory with that. That's because it was really kind of Christmas by myself. The other half went to Buffalo to visit parents that were still there. My mom is here in Indiana, but the other in-laws were not yet. So it was just a quick trip because we weren't planning to go back for Christmas this year because my parents had moved down and it just wasn't working out that way. And so they decided to go back real quick for a couple of days. Well, a couple of days turned into a week because that was the year major snowstorms hit the East Coast area, and that's where we're originally from, and kind of got stuck there day after day trying to get a flight back out, and day after day, within hours, the airport was canceling again, so it took about a week to get back. So it was really kind of a Christmas by myself. I mean, yeah, I had my mom come over and we had a little Christmas, but for the most part, it was just me chilling with the cat. But we did make it to our kind of New Year's getaway to Sarasota, Florida for a little bit, thankfully. So that's how I usually work my annual albums. I will format them so that, right, I've got the whole year and it ends on the left side so that the right side starts the next year. It's just kind of one of my preferences. So here is where I used one of the newer pocket page inserts. So I will do this a lot as well at times when I have more photos and I can fit into a 2-page, because I like to keep the 2 pages as you know, one event or one event. We'll go with that. I'm having some word issues this morning. So this was a horseback riding a little trip that we made when my partner's brother and his girlfriend came to visit. So of course I had all these pictures, and of course it was his brother's birthday too. I was trying to fit them all into 2 pages. It wasn't really quite working. You know, I wouldn't be able to kind of keep this idea of having that white page come through. So I grabbed one of the newer pocket pages, and it just kind of worked out that I had 4x6s, and I just needed to add a mat here that I can then have as a journal on the other side. So, you know, we've got the horseback riding, flip, and then it's birthday. So here's again, world event that following May, King Charles was coronated. So it was just kind of tying that in to the next piece where we had a stray cat coming around. We thought it was a male, turned out to be a female, and had 3 kittens under our deck. And long story short, we were able to get the mama cat, and 2 of her kittens in. We could never find the 3rd one, and the plan was to keep them short term, but they have now ended up being long-term residents here. So Toulouse, our other stray cat, Toulouse, who is featured back here, now, you know, has a little family. So here with this page, so again, you can see I've got the same kind of colors. They're a little different with the border embellishment, but the bronze and the blue. And then because I had more photos, I used an 8x8 peekaboo pocket to add in some more pictures. Because again, I wanted to keep as much of the kittens together instead of having to add more pages, because I knew I would be getting kind of a thick album if I kept doing too many individual pages with all the cats. And the same with Trip, my best friend from Buffalo came in to see a concert, so she spent a few days, and we just had some fun before we went up to Indianapolis to see the concert. And so again, I kind of did the same thing because this would take up a few pages. So I pulled all of the parts that were activities with my friend into these 2 pages. So if you're familiar with Southern Indiana, we went down to Huber's and Starlight for the day. Then we went up to Indy for the concert, had a nice dinner before we went to the show. And so I just used some peekaboos here, again an 8x8 peekaboo, opening up with some 4x6 flips. And then on this side, I think these are the 2x3 peekaboos. Trying to get this in here, maybe. Nope. Yeah, the 2x3 peekaboos here, just to flip up. Concert. Here's another piece, or another kind of in the same vein, right, of some of the previous pages where I have the same element. They're just different pages talking about a couple different things, but trying to have them connect together. So besides the turquoise being that kind of that color that pulls together, I also went to the punch, the ribbon lace punch, as a border to help kind of make that transition a little bit easier and pull them together a bit. So this was the end of our concert, and then this that fall I found out that a friend that I was somewhat close with back in when I was growing up in my high school years suddenly passed away. So this was just a little memory page for her. Coming into fall, so I will use quite a few peekaboo pockets at times just because they are helpful in whatever design of the page, getting more pictures in. Sometimes with memorabilia, I love adding my memorabilia. It's just sometimes it can be a bit of a trick. So here's another piece that I will often do. Here is just a 12x12 top loading pocket page that this just happened to fit, and so I just put that memorabilia in, and I just inserted it into the middle where it fits with everything. So we went to the Chris Kindle Market in 2023. It was my mom's first time coming to it, so it's kind of like a yearly tradition for us. We love going to that. So, and then afterwards we will typically go and eat at the Schnitzelbank. And again, peekaboo pockets can be great for little brochures that you can have right there on top of your page. Because I was starting to notice, I'm getting a pretty thick album already. I need to try to keep condensing. So holidays, at this juncture, I decided to do as their own 2-page layout. Thanksgiving on one side, which generally don't have a ton of photos for Thanksgiving. It's usually just the food. So that worked for 1 page. And then Christmas, I had a bit more. And so I went the cascading page route. And this was my first time doing a cascading page in this sense of having the whole 12x12 photo be featured here. I've done other cascadings, but I haven't done it where we have the whole picture in the pockets. So this was helpful, especially when you have different size photos, 4x4s. I will also do some wallets for certain pictures as well, just to kind of help with sizing. But it worked out really well to do the cascading here. Excuse me. because it just kind of helped tell the story of the season. On these 2 pages, so you'll notice, it's the same layout. I just used different matte colors on different sides. I was having a hard time finding one matte color for all of them that would work the best. So in this sense, right, highlighting winter that was coming in late December that year, and then a holiday get together with friends at a restaurant. I put them together, but I use different color mattes to highlight. They're just kind of different events in a way. So that's kind of sometimes the other piece that I will do, is use the different mattes but keep the same background layout to pull it together. Using up scraps, so it looks pretty, basic, I guess you might want to say, but in a way it works because I have then more room to tell the story a bit more with just a couple photos, very little embellishment. The titles are all cricketed, so so again, kind of in that same theme of, inserting pocket pages in the middle of a 2-page spread, just to help condense and keep all those photos together instead of having to have 3-4, double page layouts. So quick backstory, I went up to a sister facility that I work with, just to kind of shadow for a few days. It's up in South Bend, Indiana. And one of the afternoons we just did a walk around Notre Dame campus. So these are just all those photos from the Notre Dame campus. So designing the 2-page layout, right? So I'll design the 2 pages together. You can see I used the new border tool, that arch, and again, picking those coordinating colors, bronze, navy. So again, Notre Dame colors, but coordinating them, and finding, making the center piece here, determining which photos are going to go in where, and then using some of the pocket pages to help. And so where I didn't have photos, I will use that as a spot to have information, excuse me, or journal. As well. So these 2 pages, again, very different, but we have that sense that they go together. So we all remember that solar eclipse, and you can only I think you can only have so many pictures of the same dot of the sun. That's just me. But and then it also paired it with the opening of the new facility that I helped do with my work. So what I did was ended up creating these 3 different size strips, and then I just mirrored that over onto the other side, just using different colors. Excuse me. But still pulling them all together with the sandy shimmer. I use sandy shimmer mattes here. I used the sandy shimmer as 2 of my strips on this side. This base paper is black, and so I use black mattes. So that way, for me at least, I think, right, they do tie together, just in a little bit of a different way. So sometimes when I'm stuck with that aspect of I've got only enough for a single page, and then there's this next page. If they can kind of go together in the same story, I will try to find that way of putting them together in a way that they're different, but they still, I guess you don't have a hard break in the flow of the album. On this one, the big part, taking those sketches and instead of, having straight edges, playing around with them. So I use that peak border tool here. And then adding some borders. That's what I'm looking for, some border elements. I had scrap left over of the ribbon lace. So I used that. The Home Sweet Home BMC reminded me of some of the little cottages at the Pioneer Village that we visited. We showed my partner's brother's girlfriend how to make a strawberry rhubarb pie. So, using the Baking Fun punch-out knockouts to kind of add a little extra there. This is one of the mats from the Noteworthy Days that I wanted to include in here, but it would have covered up too much, or just the sizing wasn't right. So I just cut out the words and put them along the bottom. My Dahlia pages. So this is a separate video. It's called Dahlia Days. And if you're interested in how to make this 2-page layout, I walk us all through. It's one of the sketches from earlier in 2026. I think it was February. Virtual crop sketch number 4. And I just reimagined that circle part as the dahlia. I also did it with a sunflower. But I do love my dahlias. And for these, I did, use the Painted Garden collection, but that's what would match the best with these photos. So I was finally able to get the photos together, and I think they turned out really, really nice. This was another virtual crop sketch, and I just kept seeing something inside the squares at the top, but I couldn't find anything that would really work very well. So I just ended up going with a Rolling Hills strip and just gave it some ink, and I think that turned out really nicely. Again, right, we can see it's a similar but different. It's not a matching 2-page. So in the same vein, same, all connected, moving mother-in-law down. So having to clear out the house and get it ready on the market, and then the drive down. So it's all together, but 2 different pages in a way. So I looked to the border again to kind of be one of those pieces that can pull it together, as well as the middle pieces here, but using that same paper background of the border, and then just the inside of the border having just different decoration. So it still comes together, but it still kind of tells you this is another part of it. And I did the same thing again for Christmas and Thanksgiving and Christmas. As you can tell, just using, again, that arch border tool, and just trying to use up some of the scraps I have, but just adding some different elements together that will help the pages come together, but they still highlight just very differently. And of course I use some inking as well to add a little extra there. And then the end of the album. So hopefully hopefully this helped some of you maybe wondering, how to do certain pages, or how can I pull together two different types of pages, but still try to have a cohesiveness across the board. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to the next project, the next video that I can do. I'm still working on getting better. I'll get there, it's just taking its time. And yeah, so always stay tuned, and thanks for joining. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can always hit me up on my Facebook, Mohr Memories Scrapbooking, and on Messenger. You can also email me at mohrmemoriescrapbooking@gmail.com. Always happy to help. And if you need anything else, if you already have an advisor, feel free to reach out to your current advisor. If you have a question for me, like I said, feel free to reach out. Always happy to assist. Other than that, stay safe, stay well, and happy scrapping. I'll see you next time.